Hello friends, welcome to the Reading Mindset. Today, we're talking about the book Less Stuff by Lindsay Miles. Often, we think that to be happy in life, we need more and more things: a big house, a new car, designer clothes, the latest gadgets, and so on. But does happiness really come from these things? Lindsay Miles' book Less Stuff raises a very interesting question. Are we truly chasing the things we need, or are we just buying stuff because we think it's the key to happiness? The book begins with a simple but powerful idea. Happiness isn't tied to quantity but to clarity and intention. This means you don't need to accumulate more things. Instead, you need to understand what truly matters to you. Imagine your room is filled with stuff. Every closet is overflowing, and yet you can't find something important. Does that bring you peace or stress? Lindsay says that in the consumer culture we live in, we're constantly taught to buy more to be more, of the idea that buying more things increases our value. But in reality, when we keep buying unnecessary things, we lose energy, money, and peace. It doesn't just clutter our physical space but our mental space too. Now, imagine having only the things you actually use, things that bring you joy. Every item in your home has a place, and you choose everything purposefully. Wouldn't such a life feel more peaceful? This is what living with intention means: making every decision, big or small, thoughtfully and in alignment with your values. Lindsay also makes another point: clarity brings freedom. When you simplify your surroundings, you not only create space but also free your mind. A free mind allows you to think better, focus on your goals, and feel satisfied from within. Many of us make decisions based on what others are doing. If a friend buys a new phone, we want one too. If someone posts pictures from a fancy vacation, we feel the urge to go there. But is this the path to happiness, or just comparison? Lindsay emphasizes an important point here. When you become intentional, you stop living by others' expectations and start recognizing your true needs. You think for yourself, not to look perfect in someone else's eyes. Now, let's talk practically about how to apply this idea to our lives. First, observe the things around you. Do you wear the same clothes every day? Do you have duplicate items lying unused for years? Are there things you're holding on to out of guilt, like a gift you didn't like? Lindsay suggests starting with an honest audit. Pick up each item and ask yourself, does this serve a purpose in my life? Do I use it? Does it bring me joy? If the answer is no, let it go gracefully. Decluttering isn't punishment, it's an invitation to a better life. Some might say this isn't easy as there's often emotional attachment to things. Lindsay acknowledges this and says you can keep memories in your heart, not in physical objects. For example, holding on to old clothes just because you wore them on a special occasion isn't necessary. You can capture that memory in a photo or a note. Another interesting point is that when you adopt the less stuff philosophy, you automatically move toward mindful consumption. Now, every time you go to buy something new, you ask, do I need this? Does it fit into my existing life? Will I use it repeatedly? If the answer is yes, then buy it. Otherwise, you're just acting on impulse, which leads to regret later. This might sound philosophical, but its impact is very real. Think about it: when you live with less, you have less to maintain. You spend less time cleaning, save money, and can invest in things that truly help you grow, like books, hobbies, relationships, or experiences. Lindsay's philosophy says that less stuff doesn't mean a boring life, it's a rich, intentional life. When you prioritize what's essential, you welcome clarity and peace. Every day becomes about less distraction, more focused, less cleaning, more creating, less chaos, more calm. Another big benefit of this approach is that you start understanding your environmental responsibility. When you buy less, you indirectly benefit the planet. Less stuff means less waste, less production pressure, and a step towards sustainability. Lindsay calls this conscious consumption, a consumption that's thoughtful and deliberate. We've all felt that refreshing feeling when a room is clean, everything is in its place, and it feels breathable. That's not just the feeling of a clean room but of a clear mind, and Lindsay celebrates this clarity throughout the book. Another misconception Lindsay challenges is the fear of keeping just-in-case items. We often hold on to things thinking they might be useful in the future, but that rarely happens. The cost of keeping them is real space, mental burden, and sometimes guilt. Lindsay encourages trusting that if you need something in the future, you'll find a better option. Hoarding for every possibility pulls you away from living in the moment. In the end, less stuff isn't just a decluttering book, it's a mindset, a perspective that says true happiness doesn't come from what we own but from how we choose to live with those things. Making life lighter, clearer, and more intentional is a step toward ultimate satisfaction. So, the next time you open an online shopping app or plan to buy something new in the store, pause and ask yourself, will this add real value to my life? If the answer is a heartfelt yes, go ahead. Otherwise, give yourself the gift of space and freedom that the less stuff philosophy offers. We all have things in our lives we can't seem to let go of, no matter how old or useless they are. An old diary, a childhood toy, a school bag, a torn t-shirt, or a gift we didn't like but still keep. Why does this happen? Because those things aren't just objects, they're tied to our emotions. Lindsay Miles deeply explores this emotional connection in Less Stuff. She explains that when we get attached to something, we're actually attached to the memory, feeling, or person associated with it. For instance, an old greeting card might just be a piece of paper, but it reminds us of our mom or a friend we no longer talk to. So when someone says, just throw it away, it's not that simple. We're not afraid of losing the physical item but the emotional attachment. We worry that letting go of the item means losing the memory. Lindsay understands this with compassion and says letting go is an emotional process, not just an organizing step. Imagine an old teddy bear, covered in dust and unused, but you can't let it go because it reminds you of your childhood. Lindsay says this is perfectly normal. We all stay connected to our past through things. But we need to understand that memories aren't in objects, they're within us. Whether you keep the teddy bear or not, the feeling of childhood will always stay with you. Sometimes, we hold on to things out of guilt, like a gift from a relative that we didn't like but feel bad about donating or throwing away. We think keeping it shows we value the relationship. Lindsay suggests that a gift's purpose was to bring you joy, and if it no longer does, letting it go isn't disrespectful. You can appreciate the person's sentiment without holding on to the item unnecessarily. Another emotional barrier is the fear of loss. We think, what if I need this later? Lindsay says this fear pushes us to keep just-in-case items, but living in that fear makes us tie our identity to possessions. We forget that our identity comes from our thoughts and actions, not our stuff. Some items are tied to our dreams, like an old musical instrument we never learned but hoped to one day. Now it sits in a corner collecting dust, but we can't let it go because it's linked to the what could have been version of ourselves. Lindsay calls this emotional clutter, things that bind us to guilt or regret. She says we need to forgive ourselves and understand that not every dream becomes reality. Letting go isn't failure, it's maturity. Letting go of emotional attachments is a journey. It can bring confusion, anger, sadness, or relief. Lindsay suggests a method: pause and sit with each item. Think about what it represents. Does it bring joy or guilt? Does it move you toward the future or keep you stuck in the past? If it's just a burden, it's better to let it go. Sometimes, letting go means building a new relationship with yourself. When you release things that hold you back, you create space for new memories, goals, and true happiness. Lindsay calls this emotional liberation, a moment where you free yourself from past emotional baggage. Another common emotional aspect is identity attachment. We hold on to things because they're tied to our identity, like an artist keeping old art tools because they represent their artist self. Lindsay says the value of who you were or what you did lies within you, in your actions, not in objects. If you let go of an item, how do you preserve its memory? Lindsay suggests taking a photo or writing about it in a diary. This way, You keep the emotion without the physical item cluttering your space. It not only clears your space but also lightens your heart. In our society, some items carry heavy emotional value, like diary items, inherited kitchenware, or old-fashioned furniture that's no longer useful but considered a family pride. Lindsay says we should respect these items but also ask if they truly serve our needs or happiness. Sometimes, letting go makes their respect more meaningful. Developing self-awareness is a great way to understand emotional attachments. When you recognize what brings joy and what binds you, you make better decisions. This process becomes an inner journey of knowing yourself and your emotions better. Some think letting go of emotional items hardens the heart, but Lindsay says it actually makes you more connected to your feelings, your loved ones, and the life you consciously choose. Having less doesn't mean emptiness, it means you're not losing things, it means you're gaining clarity and peace. The most beautiful part is that clearing emotional clutter increases gratitude. You start valuing every item instead of just possessing it. You appreciate this with every item rather than letting it control you. The most important thing in this process is compassion for yourself and the emotions tied to those items. If you can't let go of something, don't judge yourself. Take time, understand, and release it when you're ready. Lindsay reminds you. This mindset leads to a clutter-free, waste-free life. So, friends, that was our book summary today. How did it feel? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for sticking with us till the end.